The thermometer on the porch read 102 degrees. It had read 102 degrees for 11 straight days in July of 2017, and again for 9 days in August of 2018. The drought wasn't a headline anymore. It was a ledger entry. 3 years of watching our 40 acres of wheat and milo shrink by the season. Watching the creek that cut through our property drop from a stream. You could wade into a trickle you could step across without getting your boots wet. Thursday, March 14, 2019, 2:54 p.m. CST, Northwest Kansas, Decatur County. My name is David Holcomb. I'm 53 years old. My wife, Margaret, is 51. We have 3 kids, 2 grown and moved to Wichita, one still in high school, asleep upstairs because school was canceled again for heat. We have 2 dogs buried under the cottonwood by the creek. We have a mortgage on 40 acres that the bank valued at $4,200 an acre in 2015, and by 2019, after the droughts, they were valuing it at $2,800 if we were lucky. We had $3,200 in checking. We had $47,000 in a savings account that was supposed to be our buffer, our never-touch fund. In 2017, we'd touched it. In 2018, we'd emptied it. By March of 2019, we had $3,200 in checking, and we were 2 months behind on the equipment loan. The land that changed everything was 80 acres. It sat directly south of our property, separated by a fence line that had been there since my grandfather's time. The creek, what was left of it, ran through the middle of those 80 acres. The creek that never went dry, the old-timers said. The creek that in 2016 had still held water in October. The land had belonged to the Voss family for 4 generations. Old man Voss died in January of 2019. No heirs. No that anyone could find. The Bank First National of Oberlin foreclosed in February. The auction was set for March 14th, 2 p.m., at the Decatur County Courthouse basement. We weren't going. We couldn't. We had $3,200. The land was appraised at $336,000. 80 acres at $4,200 an acre. In a normal market, it would go for that. In a drought market, maybe less. But less still meant $280,000, $250,000. Numbers that lived in a different universe from our $3,200 at 2:54 p.m. I was in the barn patching a hole in the combine's radiator with J.B. Weld and prayer when Margaret came running from the house. Not walking, running. She had the phone in her hand. She was barefoot. She'd been canning tomatoes from the garden, our one crop that hadn't failed, and her apron was still on. David, listen to me. She was out of breath. That was Jerry Voss, not the old man. His nephew, the one from Denver. He says the auction's online, not at the courthouse. They moved it online last night because of the flu. Half the county's got that stomach bug. They didn't post it anywhere. Jerry only found out because he called the clerk this morning to ask about probate. I set down the wrench. Online. And it closes at 3. 6 minutes, David. 6 minutes. I looked at my hands. Grease, dirt. The J.B. Weld was still setting. We don't have an account. We don't have... I know. But Jerry says she stopped, swallowed. He says there's a way. If we can get to the library. The library has computers. They have internet. Mrs. Patterson is the librarian. She has an account with the auction company from when they sold her husband's estate, Margaret. I stood up. My knees cracked. We have $3,200, and we have equity. We have this land. She was crying now, but it wasn't sad crying. It was the kind of crying that comes from holding too much for too long. David, that creek is on that land. If we get that creek, we can irrigate. We can lease water rights. We can. She grabbed my arm. Her hands were sticky from tomato juice. We can borrow against our equity. We can get a loan. The extension office said we were leveraged to the point of breaking. Then we break or we grow. Those are the choices. She was already walking to the truck. Come on, we have 5 minutes. The drive to Oberlin is 19 miles. We made it in 14. I ran 2 stop signs. Margaret was on her phone, trying to find the auction website, trying to remember Mrs. Patterson's number, trying to remember anything. The truck was a 2006 Ford. F-150 with 240,000 miles. The AC didn't work. It was March, but it felt like July. We were both sweating. We pulled into the library. Parking lot at 3:02 p.m. The auction closed at 3 o'clock. We were 2 minutes late. Margaret was out of the truck before I stopped moving. She ran up the stairs 6 concrete steps to the library entrance. The door was locked. A sign, closed for staff meeting. Back at 3:30. She pounded on the glass. Mrs. Patterson. Mrs. Patterson, please. Nothing. I was still in the truck, engine running, hands on the wheel, staring at the dashboard. We'd missed it. 2 minutes. 2 minutes because I had been patching a radiator. Because we hadn't known. Because the county clerk had posted a notice on a door that nobody read anymore. Margaret came back to the truck. She didn't say anything. She just got in and closed the door. The engine ticked. A crow called from the telephone wire. Then my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number. I answered. David Holcomb? A woman's voice, young, nervous. Yes? This is Amy Patterson. I'm at the library. I saw your wife pounding on the door. I'm the librarian's daughter. I'm visiting from Hayes. My mom's at a doctor's appointment. But I saw you, and I heard you, and I have an account. I looked at Margaret. She was staring at me. An account? I said, with Big Iron Realty, the auction company. My stepdad, he sold his farm through them last year. I have a login. I have, she paused. I have 2 minutes and 30 seconds until the auction closes. I can log in. I can bid for you. But you have to tell me what to do. Right now. I handed the phone to Margaret. She was better with numbers. She was better with everything. Hello? Amy, this is Margaret Holcomb. What's the current bid? I could hear Amy's voice through the phone, tinny and distant. 142,000. There's one bidder. Fields Development, LLC. They're bidding in $10,000 increments. 142, Margaret said. She looked at me. We have equity. Our land is worth conservatively $112,000. We can borrow against it. We can get a home equity loan. We can get how much? I asked. 160. Maybe 170. If we push. If we refinance everything. If we... She stopped. David, if we do this, we won't have money to plant. We'll have 80 acres and no seed. No fertilizer. No. Bid 150. I said. Margaret looked at me. David, bid 150. She spoke into the phone. Amy, bid 150,000. A pause. Submitted. Processing. Accepted. 150. 1 minute 40 seconds. 152, Amy said. They countered. 1 minute 20 seconds. 158, Margaret said. Bid 158. Submitted. Processing. Accepted. 158. 55 seconds. 159, Amy said. They went to 159. 40 seconds. Margaret's hand was on mine. She didn't squeeze. She just rested it there, like she was anchoring me to the earth. 160, I said. Our max. Bid 160. Submitted. Processing. Accepted. 160. 28 seconds. 161, Amy said. Her voice was different now, tighter. It went to 161. 11 seconds. Margaret closed her eyes. We can't. We don't have it. We don't. 162, Amy said. Wait, no, there's a reserve. 165. The reserve is 165. The land won't sell for less. No matter who wins. I felt something shift. A cold clarity. Amy, bid 165. Exactly the reserve. If they want it, they have to go higher. David, Margaret said. We can't afford 165. We'd be. If they think we're bluffing, they'll overbid. If they think we're desperate, they'll wait us out. But if we hit the reserve exactly, I didn't know if I was right. I was guessing. I was gambling with a farm that had been in my family since 1962. Bid it now. Submitted. Processing. Accepted. 165. 3 seconds. 166, Amy said. They went to 166. 2 seconds. 1 second. Auction closed. The silence that followed was the longest silence of my life. Margaret's hand was still on mine. The truck's engine was still running. The crow was still on the wire. We lost, Margaret said. It wasn't a question. We lost, I said. Then Amy's voice came back, strange, choked, like she was laughing and crying at the same time. Wait, the bid Fields Development LLC, their bid of 166. It says, oh my God, it says retracted. It says bidder disqualified. What? Margaret grabbed the phone. What does that mean? It means they pulled out, or the auction company pulled them out. Their financing fell through. Or, Amy was typing. It says lender declined funding. Their money wasn't real. It was borrowed. And the lender said no. Margaret looked at me. I looked at her. We won, I said. It didn't feel real. It felt like a joke. We actually won. We won, Margaret said. Then she was crying. Not happy crying. Not sad crying. The kind of crying that comes from holding too much for too long. I laughed. I don't know why. Relief does strange things. Amy came out of the library. She was 22, maybe 23. Brown hair and a ponytail. Glasses. She had her laptop under her arm. She was crying too. David, this is Margaret. You just bought 80 acres, Amy said. She shook her head. I need to go back inside. There's paperwork. There's a deposit. 10%. You need to put down 10% in 24 hours. That's $16,500. Do you have? We'll find it, Margaret said. We'll find it. We didn't have it. Not then, but we found it. We found $8,000 from a cousin in Wichita who'd sold the house. We found $5,000 from the Farm Service Agency, an emergency operating loan that we'd applied for in January and forgotten about. We found $3,500 from selling the one with the JB Weld patch to a scrap dealer for parts. We made the deposit on Friday, March 15th, 2019 at 4:47 p.m. The bank closed at 5 o'clock. The closing was April 30, 2019. We refinanced everything. Our original 40 acres, plus the new 80. 120 acres total. The payments were $2,400 a month. Our previous payment had been $800. We had no money to plant. We had no money for seed. We had no money for fertilizer. We planted anyway. We borrowed seed from a neighbor, old Bill Henderson, whose own 80 acres had been sold to developers in 2017, who watched his grandfather's pasture become a subdivision in one weekend. He gave us milo seed. He gave us wheat seed. He said, pay me when you harvest. If you harvest. The creek in April of 2019 was still a trickle. But in May it rained. Not enough, but some. In June it rained more. The creek, by July, was a stream again. Not the stream of my childhood, but a stream. We ran pipe from the creek to our fields. We irrigated 40 acres for the first time in 3 years. The milo came up. The wheat came up. We harvested in October. 2019 was the first year since 2016 that we made a profit. Not much, $18,000 after expenses. But it was enough. It was enough to pay Bill Henderson back. It was enough to buy seed for 2020. 2020 was worse for the world, but better for us. The pandemic drove commodity prices up. We harvested again. We made $34,000. We paid down the loan. We built new fences. We built a bigger barn. In 2021, we paid off the emergency operating loan. In 2022, we paid off the home equity line. In March of 2023, 4 years after the auction, we made our final payment on the land. 2 years early. We owned 120 acres free and clear. The creek never went dry again. Not like it did. Climate change is real, and the summers are still hot, and the winters are still dry. But we have water rights now. We have a well. We have 80 acres that we saved from becoming a development, from becoming spreadsheets and concrete. The kids come home for Christmas. The dogs, new dogs, a lab and a mutt run the property. My grandkids play where my kids played. That's the real crop. I still think about those 6 minutes. I think about Amy Patterson, who gave us her account, her time, her hope. We sent her a check when we could afford it. She sent it back. She said, buy seed with it. We did. The auctions still happen. Every month, same basement, different dreams. I see them sometimes. Young couples. Old farmers. All hoping. All scared. All wondering if the next season is worth planting. It is. It's always worth planting. even when you can't see the harvest. 80 acres. 6 minutes. One phone call. And everything changed. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is the one you create. Get up. Make the call. Bid on your future.